Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Burns.
Yeah, Nancy Burns here.
And we're from Future Theater. And you know what we like to listen to?
Bang.
Radio on Sunday nights at 9 p.m.
At 9 p.m.?
What
Eastern.
network?
Oh, the best network on the whole entire internet. Inception Radio Network.
You're locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin.
Your radio host for Pang Radio, Mike Lucas.
Welcome everybody to 2015 and Pang Radio on the Inception Radio Network. Welcome to the show. Tonight we have part 3 of our series with Nancy Talbott. We're going to be talking crop circles. This is our Q&A session. We've been waiting to get Nancy back on the show, but Ken's pretty excited about this. He's got a lot of questions for her. The listeners got questions. I have a few myself, but it's going to be an interesting show, and I'd like to welcome my co-host, Mr. Ken Storch. Happy 2015, Ken.
Hey, Happy New Year to you and all of our listeners, and that goes for George and Patty. And Doug, you have to get down to Silver Dollar City in Branson to watch the Christmas. What a neat. They put on a good show, a good Christmas, unless you're a humbug or something. But man, they did in Branson, Missouri, Silver Dollar City, really good show. Really good show.
I hear that's a beautiful little town. That's one place I do want to visit, Ken.
Yeah. You know, I used to be a fishing guide down in Table Rock Lake, which is located. Of course, this was back in the '60s, and so it's really commercialized now, from what I remember. But boy, I tell you what, we took in a couple of shows, and they really did a good job. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Enjoyed it a lot.
I'd like to also do a shout out to our fans on Facebook. We cracked the 2,000 barrier right around New Year, so 2,000 likes on our Facebook page. Thank you for the support, everybody. Spread the word. Share the page. You can hear us on apps, iPhones, Androids. I tell people that, Ken, that I do a live show all over the world on this little app, and people just can't fathom, like, you have an app? I'm like, well, yeah, we have an app, and we have live paranormal shows on there. It's just the greatest thing. So Believe me, I've downloaded that for quite a few people.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's really neat. Absolutely. And I'm really looking forward to tonight's show. Like you said, it should be interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
And our listeners, make sure you get your questions, either call them in or send them in the chat, so that we can direct them towards Nancy and may hopefully expand our knowledge.
Yes, the crop circle phenomena. I mean, we don't know what this is, but we're sure learning. We're learning about it, and that's why Nancy, takes that scientific approach to looking to see what is causing all these. And we've had some good insight from her. We've had some awesome scientific proof with the soil samples, the sand samples, the plant samples. I mean, this is definitely some type of high energy source causing these. It's something that isn't man-made, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, from, once again, I've crammed, 3 weeks. That probably would take 2 years or so. Okay, I've been cramming information in, and you're right. The methodology that her and her team have used, and the way that she's gone about investigating this phenomena. I call it graffiti in the field, is what I've nicknamed it.
Graffiti in the field. I like that.
Yeah, and there's something going on. I have a hard time believing that it's natural, and I have a hard time believing that the really good ones are man-made.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just, knowing human nature the way I do, I just can't imagine that a group would keep quiet after several years of putting these elaborate formations.
I agree. It's just it's not anything from space shooting down.
And it's obvious that it's more than, if it is a group of people, it's more than one, and it would be really difficult for 4, 5, 6, 15, 20 people to keep a secret that long amongst themselves about doing something, graffiti in the field, if you will. With the attention that is being drawn to it, there would be leaks. And I've got a rancher here that raises wheat, and any of the so-called hoaxers that say, well, that formation belongs to us, hey, they're more than welcome to come out here and demonstrate how they do it if they want to take the claim for it.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Another shout out, Ken. I check the app often. We have a lot of listeners checking in on the streams from Spain, a lot of friends in the UK, Australia.
Oh, right out, down under.
South America. Definitely a lot of listeners listening to the app. We appreciate the support, fans, and, share our app with everybody. Say, hey, you got to download this on your phone. This is some pretty neat stuff here. Paranormal.
Oh,
Bigfoot.
yeah, I think so.
Oh, yeah.
All you got to do is ask me.
Yep. You got to.
No equal problem here.
Right. Do you have any more shout outs, Ken?
I do. Dick and Marilyn are on their way. In fact, they should be on the East Coast in Georgia. They're going to be picking up a elongated skull. And I had a chance. I know we had Chase on our show, and we really didn't get into much. But there's some interesting stuff about the Paraka skull and what's coming of it. So that'll be interesting to see what they come up with.
Well, heck, we'll have them on and talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm fascinated by it. So
that's what keeps us going, Ken, is all this fascination of the unknown. And
easy for you to say.
Yeah, that's tongue-tied. Kind of rooting for Detroit tonight, so I was kind of yelling at the TV when Dallas all of a sudden took over the game.
Yeah, well, that's the way it goes. That's why you play the game, I suppose. But hey, minus 11 there in Chicago, huh?
Yeah, it is minus 11 up here, and wind chills probably got us at minus 25. I had to pick up the little dog today outside because she did her thing, and then it was instantly like, I can't stand on 3 paws, so I had to carry her in. Well, the other bigger dog is fine with the cold. She's fluffy. But,
I've told people I've been Colorado many times. It's 19 below zero, actual temperature, not wind chill. And I said, you spit, and before it hits the ground, it hits as ice. Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing you can do up here, too. When it gets into the 20, 30, 40 below range, you can take a bucket of water, throw it in the air outside, and it will just evaporate in midair to steam. It's a neat little thing to try.
Yeah. And don't put your tongue on the handrail.
Oh, yeah. Don't triple dog dare anybody.
Yeah. Right.
For all you listeners on the stream, if you guys are interested, you can go to Nancy's website if you want to take a look and want to get any questions thrown at us on chat or via Skype, or you can actually put them on Twitter. I mean, there's many ways where I can check, or email them to inceptionradionetwork@gmail.com. But her website is www.bltresearch.com. Take a look. If you have a question, it's a good place to start because Nancy's going to answer the questions in a little bit here the best she can, and it's going to be a good show. And I'm really interested to talk about her friend too, the Von Denbroek, Robbert too. In
Holland
there. How does he know? I mean, how does he know these crop circles are going to show up? I mean, what type of energy or what is accessing his mind? I mean, like I said, I can't explain it. I mean, it's baffling to me.
Well, did you get the email about, I think, the government showing up at his house?
I did not. I don't think I got that one.
Huh. I don't know if he's coming on with Nancy tonight or not, because apparently he had a real negative experience with officialdom.
Oh, wow. I don't think he is, but we could definitely ask her.
Well, and I've got that in the margin of one of my questions. What you just brought up is, does she have any inkling as to how he knows, or what kind of communication that he's able to access in order to get that information that tells him when and where they're going to appear?
It seems like he's receiving some type of download from somewhere else. I mean, what else? How else can you explain it?
Well, I am one of those people that believe that there are certain individuals. In fact, every once in a while I have flashes of brilliance. Okay, but what I mean is that I don't know if it's ESP or if it's some kind of tapping into some kind of energy field or whatever. But every once in a while, I know something like it's like you're sitting and you go, the phone rings and you know it's going to ring, and before it rings, you know it's going to be your sister or a friend that you haven't talked to in 3 months, and it phone rings, you go, oh, that's going to be Bill or whatever. So, I mean, that's pretty bizarre when that happens.
Oh yeah. You talk about somebody, and all of a sudden you run into them like within the next day or two, and you're like, I was just thinking about you, and you just kind of run into like, holy cow, that just kind of smacks you in the forehead, like, wow.
Yeah, I know the scientific community would say that's just happenstance, or the what is it, the law of probability or coincidence, the law of coincidence. But I don't buy that.
I think it's the thoughts become things myself.
Yep, I do too, in a lot of respect.
Oh yeah. Well, I tell you what, it's 8:10. This is the time we usually bring our guest in, so let me add her to the call, and she knows she's going live, so we might not have a panic here.
Right on.
Yeah, let's see here. Let's get her in. I like doing this live. This makes it more exciting.
Oh yeah, you get all the foo bars in there too.
Yeah. And here comes Nancy. We'll hear a ringtone, folks, and hang in there. Some people don't like when I say folks, but I think it's a nice way to.
Hello.
Good evening, Nancy. Happy New Year from MJ and Ken. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fine. Happy New Year to you guys, too.
Hey, Nancy, thanks for coming on. Looking forward to it. Appreciate it.
Me too.
Well, Nancy, tonight we're gonna cover some questions we both had and the listeners. Like I said, it's gonna be just kind of a fun little forum, and we're gonna hit you with some questions where it's definitely no pressure. We're all fun here, you know that.
Oh, it's not a matter. I mean, the point is that where there are answers to the questions, and there are answers to some of them, I just hope I can remember all the details.
That's definitely okay.
Hey, part of the experience is just being able to ask the question, and maybe there isn't an answer that is definitive, but you're right, there is an answer. Maybe we just don't have it yet, but I always thought it was.
I'm saying that we have answers to some of the questions, and I'm just hoping that I remember all the technical details when it's something that's not my particular area of expertise. Of course, there are things we don't have the answers to at all.
Mm-hmm. Now, Nancy, I'm gonna start off easy. Do we have any new crop circles that have been reported, like in the last month, like during Christmas or December, January, early January? Anything showing up?
There was one in Holland. I don't have it in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
But the most recent one was in Holland in December, in, I think, marigolds.
Okay.
Which they grow in some of the areas there. The farmers, there's something in marigolds that's it's a nutrient, for the next crop they're going to plant. And their season often allows these plants, they're very hardy, to grow late. And so they grow them and then turn them over, plow them back in to help the soil over the winter. And the most recent one that I know of was there. I think there were also in South America. Oh, I remember just in December there was one of these randomly downed events. This is where you've got huge areas of a field usually knocked down in a non-geometric way. And because of the BLT work, where we tested a number of randomly downed areas, usually in fields where there were geometric formations already, but not always. We went and tested a number of these randomly downed things because what we found was that in some cases, this randomly downed stuff had the same physical changes in the plants that we find in the geometrically downed crop circles. And there's a full report about all of this in the field report section because we did a fairly comprehensive testing of the UK circles in 2009. including a fabulously pictorial design, which you would immediately assume had to be fake, which turned out probably not to be. But around the head of this, it was a phoenix-like design. Around the head of this thing, there was a whole area of randomly down crop, and it was tested also and showed exactly the same changes that we find in the geometric. So this thing in Mexico attracts attention because although weather, of course, can be responsible in many cases, or over-fertilization of the plants, which then makes the heads very heavy, this sort of thing can cause lots of big areas of randomly down. But sometimes it is not just weather. Sometimes it's the same thing, whatever it is, that's causing the crop circles.
Ken, I think you have a question too there.
Yeah, well, actually, it comes in from JB also. We're both thinking along the same lines. And we're wondering, Nancy, do you have any thoughts on why there is so much activity in the UK? Now, I know you mentioned something that had to do with the soil content that is located, right, in the
chalk aquifer.
Chalk aquifer.
And if you look on BLTResearch.com, in the research links section, also in the other facts section, there is commentary about this. In fact, southern England sits on top of the underlayment there is chalk. And chalk is the most porous of rock, and water trickling through, going down through the rock to the aquifer causes charge separation in the water molecules, which sets up a positive charge it's a very slight, but increased over areas where there is no chalk. There's this slightly increased positive charge, ground electrical charge. And the hypothesis there, we know that in fact the chalk aquifer was there. We know that in fact that the ground electrical charge does go up because John Burke and I spent several summers measuring that. And in fact, it does go up in southern England over the summer as the water has to percolate farther and farther. The aquifer lowers, you see, over the summer. And therefore the surface water has to percolate farther, meaning there are more electrons stripped off, meaning the ground electrical charge goes up, which we've measured and know is true in southern England. And the theory was that this increased ground electrical charge was functioning as an attractor to this atmospheric plasma system, drawing it down in areas where you had chalk underlayment, or the next most porous rock, which is limestone. And in fact, many of the crop circles in other parts of the world, and particularly here in the States, do in fact occur over limestone underneath the soil. So that it's theoretic. We don't know that. We haven't been able to prove it. We've only been able to prove we know the areas where they're chalk and we know the areas where they're limestone, and we have done enough measurements to know that the ground electrical charge does in fact increase ever so slightly over the summer, peaking at the sort of in the late fall, which is also when the greatest number of crop circles occur in southern England.
Well, that leads me to a second question. Has any crop circles been registered where there hasn't been an aquifer with chalk or sandstone or limestone?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Well,
that's why it's complicated.
Yeah, shoots that in the ass. I'll tell you that. Okay. Well, all right.
Yeah.
I have another question here that's really. It bugs the hell out of me, Nancy, and that is the insects in a field. I grew up on a farm, so
right.
I'm well familiar, at least in the wheat fields and cornfields of Missouri, the types of insects and rodents that inhabit, that ecosystem. I was reading an article here about 2 days ago, and they have found dead insects and rodents, but there was no determination as to whether or not it was a result of being inside the crop circle or not.
Very good question, and it's really funny that you ask it. I'm working on a new report that's coming out in the next week or so that happens to include the discovery of two very dead, very desiccated, flat as a damn flounder porcupines found in the 90s in a Canadian crop circle in corn. And I'm using some of the images we're discussing corn circles and some of the amazing things that go on in them. And I'm using some of the pictures that were taken by the guy who found the 2 dead raccoons. Now, there have also been reported, and I've seen enough evidence to believe that at least one of these cases is true, desiccated bird carcasses in a couple of circles. Those are in England. And one time I remember hearing about a fox, supposedly a fox carcass, found in a crop circle. I'll get to the insects in a minute. In the case of the animals, the rodents and the birds, it's not known whether those animals may have been dead and just happened to be in the spot where the circle formed.
Right.
I mean, they may have been dead and they may have been there, or they may have been in the wrong place at the wrong time, which, if these energies, which we know were present in the X-ray diffraction study, that Edmonton, Canada crop circle, the energies present there were strong enough to change the crystallinity of those soil minerals. That theoretically, in fact a little bit more than theoretically, would have definitely been strong enough to kill an animal, a small animal. So it's conceivable. I mean, when you think about raccoons, if they're scared, what do? They roll up in a ball, which would be exactly the wrong thing to do if a plasma is going to discharge right on your head, which conceivably is what caused them to die. And the same thing would be true for the birds and or the fox. But it's not known, whether or not those animals were simply dead and their carcasses were there before the circles formed, or whether it occurred later. Now, as far as the insects go, there are people, and I also have seen this, who began to notice that in some crop circles in England, this was first noticed, what looked like flies, small flies, were attached to some of the standing stalks inside crop circles. There are lots of sections where there's standing sections that haven't been flattened. And they found that these animals, they were not only stuck to the stalks, they were stuck with their tongues, like they were glued via their tongues. Now, immediately it was assumed that the energies involved in making crop circles had killed these bugs and stuck them to the plants, which may be true. But we've never been able to find an entomologist, which is what we would need to, number one, identify the insects so that we know what they are. Number two, provide us with the information about their customs, their habits. It's entirely conceivable that there are creatures which stick their tongues out, in wheat plants for some reason or other, or die that way that we just didn't know about. So there's no science to tell us whether in the cases where we find insects apparently caught up in whatever the energy system was, we don't know for certain that is what happened. It's what looks like did happen, but one of the major problems with this kind of work is not having enough money to hire, an entomologist to come in and give a professional opinion.
Nancy, I have a question too. Have you ever had anybody have physical effects, like after a fresh crop circle walking into it? Has anybody had a physical effects? Humans?
Yeah, constantly. It's a very regular thing. I'll start with myself because it's happened to me, and so I can tell it firsthand. A very common experience, although it doesn't happen to everybody, and it doesn't happen in every circle. And in fact, it can happen to some people in one circle and not to other people in the same circle at the same time.
There you go.
So exactly why this is so, I don't know. But what happens is a tingling. It's a prickly tingling, a little bit like if you imagine sticking your finger into a wall socket. Obviously not quite that intense, but it's that sort of a feeling. And it's usually in the feet and the lower legs, the calves. And it can be anything from just a feeling of warmth to a real, fairly strong tingling. I have experienced it a number of times, and in one in Holland, it was so extreme. It was all the way up my right leg and my upper right thigh, was burning to the point where I had to leave the circle. This was a brand new formation that I was in. And after I was out of the circle for 10 minutes, it went down. And the next day or so when I went back, I was able to go in without that problem. It's something that people notice most frequently in brand new circles, but not in all of them. There are other effects. We have not done, there's another sort of work that has been done by a woman named Lucy Pringle in southern England, and she's been real interested in the effects, physical effects on people. I don't know how scientific all of the stuff she's done has been, but she seems to have documented, at least in some cases, that there are possible effects on heart, on people having pacemakers.
Mm-hmm.
There are people reporting headaches, migraines, and or the opposite, ebullient, joyous feelings for no particular reason. And there's one very peculiar incident that I know about that I think was reported in a couple of other circles. Back in, I think, 96, there was a spiral event near Stonehenge. The Julia set. I'm almost sure that was 96. And it was a big formation that occurred in the afternoon within about a 20 to 30 minute period, which we know because the flights that take off from Thruxton Airport to take tourists out to see the crop circles, they fly right over Stonehenge as they take off to then take the tourists around to see the crop circles. And the pilot had been returning from a trip, flew right over Stonehenge and right over this particular field before he landed. And then after disembarking those passengers, picked up another batch and went up. So he was back up again in 20 to 30 minutes and took off again right over this field. There had been no crop circle there as they were landing, and yet here was this huge, it was a 900-foot long circles. I can't remember, 150, 200 circles in this thing, that had appeared in this field in full view of Stonehenge, I might add, and in daytime. And Stonehenge was filled with tourists, none of whom saw anything happen. There's a major road between Amesbury, I think, and Marlborough that runs right smack, very close to Stonehenge, in between Stonehenge and this field, filled with traffic. And I think it was Lucy, actually, who lives in England, who did eventually find a taxi driver and a customer who had been driving along that field and did see something that had to do with this circle forming. But the point is it formed in 20 or 30 minutes in the afternoon in full view of everybody, and almost nobody saw much of anything. But in that formation, many women reported, this is a little delicate, I'll try to say it delicately, but many women who were menopausal and at various states of that situation apparently started to have their periods again after being in the formation. And many of them then had their menses for quite a long time afterward, which in a woman who's really postmenopausal, which many of these women were, is absolutely abnormal. And as far as I know, nobody ever took it any farther than that. I don't know if all of the women who reported this were British or whether there were other women, tourists, who reported it. I would think it would have to be followed up by your doctors, having medical exams and whatever. And as far as I know, that was never done. But I did speak to at least two of the women who claimed that this had happened to them and believe that they were telling me the truth. So it seems that there may be quite a wide range of physical responses that people could have, particularly in new crop circles, things which have only been there very recently. And they range from feelings of delight and just ebullience to severe headaches and, this tingling. I've actually felt it all over my whole body. And Robbert, the guy in Holland, feels it constantly at these circles, all around, to the point where he's often almost going to lose consciousness, or in fact has in a couple cases.
Wow, interesting. Nancy, we're going to take our first break, and we'll be right back with more questions for you. Hang in there, everybody. We're listening to Nancy Talbott talk about crop circles. It's a question answer session here on the Inception Radio Network. We'll be right back.
Hello, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Remember, you can take your Inception Radio shows on the go. Just download the Inception Radio Network app for your iPhone, iPad, or Android smartphones and access live shows, past shows, guest lineups, and much more. Just visit the iTunes Store or the Google Play Marketplace and download it today for free.
Hello, everyone. Lorian Fenton here, host of the California MUFON radio show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO skywatches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, paying radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today.
Howdy, this is Joe Mars. I'm inviting you to tune in to Epic Voyages, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, Monday nights, right here on Inception Radio Network. To find out more about Epic and how you can become a member, visit epicvoyagers.com. That's EPICVOYAGERS.com.
People, the way things are going, we need a simple, efficient way to keep track of our personal income and expenses. Make the discovery. My Home Accounting is your easy-to-use and learn bookkeeping program. It works with Windows XP, Windows 7 or 8 on your desktop or laptop. Download your no-risk trial copy today from our website at www.myhomeaccounting.ca. And remember, 100% of all sales revenue goes to the Canadian National Institute for the Blind, a registered charity. Again, our website is www.myhomeaccounting.ca.
Tous les dimanches à 21h Eastern, uniquement sur Inception Radio Network.
You're locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin.
Welcome back to Paying Radio. Tonight we have on Nancy Talbott, and we're doing a question and answer session on crop circles. This is our third edition. We'll say part 3 of crop circles with Nancy. Ken had a question to start off this second half of our show. Go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, Nancy, I want to know what do the farmers think that where these occur?
There's a wide range of farmer responses, depending on who you talk to. In the U.S., whether it's north or south of the Mason-Dixon line, or the West Coast, or wherever, and in Europe, it's. Let me see. Okay, start in England, where the property laws are quite different from here in the States. There are public pathways across everybody's land in the farmlands in England. These are historic pathways, Roman byways and things that the English have maintained as public thoroughfares, and people ride and walk across various people's farms and properties. It's simply what everybody does. And so when the circle started in this area of southern England where this is all true, having visitors come and walk onto these farms and along these pathways was not a big deal. Here in the States, they shoot you if you walk on their farm. But that was not the case there. And so for many, many years, the farmers were what we here in the States would think of as incredibly tolerant of these increasing numbers to the point where it got to be hundreds and then thousands of people tromping across all these public pathways and on their farms. Because nobody in England dealt with this problem, when I first went over there in the early 90s, it was my first thing. I thought, oh my God, somebody's got to organize the farmers here, get something worked out that meets everybody's, I was thinking collecting funds and sharing it or giving it to the farmers, because I figured it wouldn't be too long before they were going to deny access. But nobody did that. And for a long time, the farmers, most of them, went along with it. That is apparently now changing. The generation of men who were running the farms 20, 25 years ago has changed. It's their sons now. And the sons seem to have considerably less tolerance for the disruption of their lives and their farms, and are threatening now, actually this coming year, to cut out every single circle as soon as it appears. Some of them have already begun to do this, cutting out circles as soon as they appear. They're threatening now, the Farmers Union down there in the southern part, to do it with every circle. Whether they'll do it or not, I don't know. Now, in the years that I worked most in England, was there myself doing a lot of the work, I talked, of course, to all the farmers to get permission and asked many of them about their opinions. What did they think was going on? The majority of the people, the farmers that I spoke with, absolutely understood that this was not people with planks and boards. They knew something else was going on. Polly Carson, whom I'm still in touch with, was at that time married to, I think it was Tim Carson, who ran the farm in Alton Barnes, where all of the great big early formations occurred. And Polly was right there and saw many things happen. But most of these farmers knew that it wasn't people with planks and boards. They didn't know what it was, but they knew it was something anomalous. Some of the farmers have never thought that. They've always thought, the Doug and Dave story was the explanation. Right. But I would say the majority of the British farmers impacted by this, the ones who actually had them appear on their lands, did not think that. And many of them have witnessed some of the light phenomena and other stuff that goes on, for themselves. So they know people aren't lying about that. In other parts of the world, it really depends. Holland is the next place, is having the most circles now of any other place. And thank God we had this example of what had happened in England, Nobody organized the farmers. Nobody even talked to them. Nobody tried to set up anything where they could benefit from from the tourism. But because of that example, we knew that if, in fact, we talked to the farmers in Holland, who are starting to have them happen all over the place there, and if we explained about if you mow a pathway in and you put tape around the pathway and around the formation, the public then knows where to walk. They won't walk across the rest of the field because they're lazy. They're going to go where it's mowed.
Right.
And that means you lose much less crop. Furthermore, if you put an honesty box, in other words, something really strong iron metal driven into the ground so the damn thieves can't steal them, you put something where people can put money.
Right, donations.
This then it usually makes, and for one of the farmers last year, we were having stunning formations occur in Holland all the time now. And last year there was a fabulous one, a couple of fabulous ones in maize, and happened to be on a farmer who was open to all of this. And he, just like the guy at Stonehenge, when that Julia set occurred, the one where the plane went over and it wasn't there and then it was, that guy made enough money that year to take his family to Switzerland or someplace for a vacation. And
Good for him.
The guy in Holland last year also made, because we've already started that in Holland. We're saying it constantly to the farmers as these circles start to appear on a number of different farms, and more of the farmers, not all of them, there's always some that won't do it and refuse to pay any attention, but there are quite a few in Holland who are allowing people on, putting the honesty boxes up, and getting enough money in these boxes to recover any losses. So that's terrific. However, there are farmers that are just not interested, or worse, a lot of them are scared. Here in the United States, I've actually had the experience in the 2000s, the year's 2000, of talking to a few farmers in the southeastern part of the United States, who actually perceived the formations as representing the devil, and not only would not allow sampling or any people on, wouldn't allow sampling or anything, and only insisting that they cut them out immediately. So you have that sort of an extreme response here in the States to farmers that are entirely curious and interested in the whole thing, wanting to know more. It runs quite a gamut, and probably represents, I think, the religious affiliations that people have, the amount of education they have, and just plain basic curiosity, I guess.
Hey, Nancy, that leads me to another question, and that is, and I'm just throwing this out there from a law enforcement perspective. That's my background. But if farmers were incurring crop destruction, that would, from trespassers. Where I'm going with this is that if it was Doug and Dave and Steve and Alan and Mary and Sylvia going out there with boards and a string, not only are they trespassing, but they are also costing these farmers money in a destruction of crops. So, if that were the case, I'm surprised there haven't been a few of them put into handcuffs.
Well, in England, where up until fairly recently, that's where the majority of them occurred. They do occur all over the world, but the majority for years was in southern England, and the people there are a little bit more laid back about some things than we are. But there has been one guy, awful man, just an awful person, who was arrested and he went to jail or had to pay a fine, because he was convicted, of just that, of trespassing and then vandalizing, which in fact it is when humans do it, because the farmer's making his living from that crop. And if you make him unable to make his living, that's why the honesty boxes, you see. Right. It's showing respect for the farmer's, how he makes his living. And if the visitors want to share in the thing, then they owe the farmer something for the privilege of being able to do it. And when you can set a system like that up in advance, which is what we have been able to do so far in Holland, then the word spreads. The first farmer makes 500 euros more than he would have if he sold the crop, and he's telling his farmer friends,
right?
If you get a crop circle, for goddamn sake, put up an honesty box.
Right. Yeah, I would think that would be the way to go. And I think that also builds rapport between...
The one other problem, though, as you mentioned, from the law enforcement point of view, here again in the U.S., because we're so litigious, I would think each farmer here would put up a post a sign making it absolutely clear that they take no responsibility for any injuries. I used to run big outdoor festivals, and we spent the last couple days before the shows would open, filling in gopher holes for exactly this reason. Because I rented huge fields and things, and we'd have to fill in every single gopher hole, because if one of your visitors steps in one and breaks a leg, and so I'm thinking here in the States anyhow, a very clear posting that the farmer is allowing people, if they wish, to visit the crop circle, but takes no responsibility whatsoever. So his insurance rates, or whatever it is he has to pay, aren't affected by the appearance of the circle and people coming onto the land.
That's a good point.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, if I were a farmer, I would be thinking about how crazy.
To listen to the rest of this interview, please go to InceptionRadioNetwork.com and register for the Insiders Club. What is the Insiders Club? The Insiders Club is our premium content, what you've just listened to. Now, what you've just listened to is a preview of that premium content. The Insiders Club is how we pay the bills. It's how you support IRN. You join forces with IRN to get the truth out there. Now, a lot of our content is free. I mean, most of our content is free. All of our live shows are free. If you go to our archives, the vast majority of our archives are for free. But to pay the bills, to help make sure this network stays alive, stays viable, we offer those who really love our radio station, our network, and our shows an ability to support our network and become a part of IRN. Actually join forces in helping us get the truth out there. Now, how do you do this again? You go to InceptionRadioNetwork.com and you subscribe for the Insiders Club, and you'll have access to all of our archives, including this show, the rest of the show. A faster way of getting there, go to the description below this video and click on the link. And like I said, you'll be joining forces with IRN. You'll have availability of all of our content, and we really appreciate your support. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Lorian Fenton here, host of the California MUFON radio show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO skywatches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, paying radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today.
To listen to the rest of this interview, please go to InceptionRadioNetwork.com and register for the Insiders Club. What is the Insiders Club? The Insiders Club is our premium content, what you've just listened to. Now, what you've just listened to is a preview of that premium content. The Insiders Club is how we pay the bills. It's how you support IRN. You join forces with IRN to get the truth out there. Now, a lot of our content is free. I mean, most of our content is free. All of our live shows are free. If you go to our archives, the vast majority of our archives are for free. But to pay the bills, to help make sure this network stays alive, stays viable, we offer those who really love our radio station, our network, and our shows an ability to support our network and become a part of IRN. Actually join forces in helping us get the truth out there. Now, how do you do this again? You go to InceptionRadioNetwork.com and you subscribe for the Insiders Club, and you'll have access to all of our archives, including this show, the rest of the show. A faster way of getting there, go to the description below this video and click on the link. And like I said, you'll be joining forces with IRN. You'll have availability of all of our content, and we really appreciate your support. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Lorian Fenton here, host of the California MUFON radio show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO skywatches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, paying radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today.
To listen to the rest of this interview, please go to InceptionRadioNetwork.com and register for the Insiders Club. What is the Insiders Club? The Insiders Club is our premium content, what you've just listened to. Now, what you've just listened to is a preview of that premium content. The Insiders Club is how we pay the bills. It's how you support IRN. You join forces with IRN to get the truth out there. Now, a lot of our content is free. I mean, most of our content is free. All of our live shows are free. If you go to our archives, the vast majority of our archives are for free. But to pay the bills, to help make sure this network stays alive, stays viable, we offer those who really love our radio station, our network, and our shows an ability to support our network and become a part of IRN. Actually join forces in helping us get the truth out there. Now, how do you do this again? You go to InceptionRadioNetwork.com and you subscribe for the Insiders Club, and you'll have access to all of our archives, including this show, the rest of the show. A faster way of getting there, go to the description below this video and click on the link. And like I said, you'll be joining forces with IRN. You'll have availability of all of our content, and we really appreciate your support. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Lorian Fenton here, host of the California MUFON radio show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO skywatches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, paying radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today.